Thanks for tuning into another edition of Another Dolphins podcast. An extremely disappointing season came to a disappointing end Sunday with a 32-20 loss to the New York Jets. Josh, Miami entered the day with playoff hopes, and it ended with Aaron Rodgers throwing 4 touchdowns as the New York Jets broke 30 points for the second time this season. And that, my friend, is so wonderfully Dolphins.
It is so Dolphins, man. I mean, we sat here and we thought we had some hope, but the pessimistic fans sat there and said everything's going to fall into place and the Dolphins will lose to the Jets. Obviously, things didn't fall into place, but the Dolphins held up their end of the bargain, and we've been through some dismal seasons, man, throughout our fandom, and it just feels like this one might be at the top of the list of disappointments. So, hate that we have to come on here and do this, but we have to do this.
Last 5 years, would you say this is the most pessimistic you are entering the offseason?
Yeah, definitely. I think we kind of, you and I both said, Chris Christian went back with Flores. We were kind of unsure what was going to happen, but yeah, man, I'm pessimistic as hell, but it'll take one little move here and there and we'll be right back coming on here being the same Homer. Homer Houtz is what they'll end up calling me.
There's a lot to talk about. A lot of dominoes are falling from the game. I want to talk about Tyreek Hill. I want to talk about Anthony Weaver. I want to talk about Calais Campbell. But Josh, I want to share some thoughts about this game. And one thing you talk about a lot when speaking about this Miami Dolphins 2024 campaign, they really failed just to all walk in the same direction. The offense could never be firing at the same time as the defense and firing at the same time as special teams. It just never seemed like momentum was ever in Miami's way. And Josh, the first 2 drives of every NFL game, scripted plays. The offense walks in every week. Scripted plays. We have a playbook. We've been practicing these plays all week. We're going to be ready to go. And this is a team that just a week ago, some of its star players were saying, well, I wasn't really doing too much in practice. That was kind of the issue. Josh, what's the issue when your first drive, your scripted plays against a 4-12 New York Jets team gets you 2 yards before you punt? 2 yards. What does that mean?
Oh, man. It must be the Dolphins we're talking about. I guess that's what that would mean.
And so the defense, which has been awesome all year, you know what they didn't use for an excuse? That we didn't have these all-pro pass rushers available in Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. First play for the Jets, Aaron Rodgers intercepted by Tyrell Dodson, his third team-leading interception since joining the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, team's all fired up. We do know that the entire game that the Metlife Stadium team is putting up highlights of the Broncos. So we know everything that's happening in this game. You don't want people rolling over when you have Calais Campbell on your roster. Zach Sealer's out there playing with a visor because he broke his face. You want people rolling over? Well, Josh, that interception got the Dolphins so jacked up, and they only got 2 yards. They still have their scripted plays available. 4 plays, 7 yards, field goal. What is going on here, dude? Like, you just want to see some fight. You want to see some life. And it just kills me that never once can both sides of the coin be operating at the same time. And that I think was so frustrating. You could tell right away because I think the Jets were in a situation where if you come out and score 10 points and Rodgers throws an interception his first play of the game, I think you can punch him right in the face and he's going to be pouty Rodgers by the middle of the second quarter. Instead, you don't score a touchdown. You have these stupid mistakes, negative runs, and instead we get pouty Tyreek.
Yeah, and that's an understatement, right? I mean, it just is a testament to what we are at this point. I mean, the offense, like you said, they play fine. Defense, it can't do anything. Now, defense is stepping up. Offense is, Snoop Huntley, this was not his best game, to say the least. The play calling was absolutely atrocious. You mentioned those scripted plays, but even when it gets past that, I mean, how many times are we going to see those cracked tosses and those damn screenplays and situations where everyone in the stadium, everyone at home knows it's coming? So there's a lot of, reflecting this team got to do. We always hear Mike McDaniel say the right things about how he has to, take a step back and evaluate himself and become better in X, Y, and Z. We need to start seeing it, man, because these guys are coming back. We know they're running this back, and it's just you can't win games and have success in the NFL at all if you're not playing complimentary football. And this team has not played a complimentary football at all this season. Sorry, Jake.
No, you have nothing to be sorry for. I was doing that for me because Josh, if I told you that Devon Achane, let's say he had a run, we'll say it's a pretty long run. Let's say it went 60. We'll say the run went 61 yards. We've got to know Devon Achane pretty well in about 2 years. If Devon Achane ran a ball 61 yards, where do you think that run would end?
Oh, it has to be in the end zone, right? Especially if he has a couple steps on the defender. It has to happen, right?
Dude, how does Devon Achane get caught from behind the engine. And I don't want this to be hate towards Achane. He was the team's offensive MVP all year, but I think that more, I'm just frustrated as a fan that everything that was going wrong in this game could go wrong. And Josh, when you consider Achane in this game, 11 carries for 121 yards and a touchdown, very, very explosive. I still want to say if he wasn't running into a brick wall, pretending to be the Kool-Aid man for 15 weeks, averaging 2.1 yards per carry, I think he's feeling a little fresher, and I don't think there's any chance anyone catches him this week.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I mentioned that, but he did get a little bit tripped up there. But I mean, we love to post his like 20-mile-per-hour here and there. I mean, him getting caught. And then the Dolphins have the inability, man, to punch the ball in. We know things get tighter. It's so cliche, right? Things get tighter in the red zone. But my God, man, it just seems like it's just been a terrible season. I'm so glad this shit's over with.
Dude, that is so beautifully said. That is so beautifully said. And you think in the red zone, isn't there another term for that? Isn't that called the money area? Doesn't some teams call that the money area? And you would
something
think
like that. Green area. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, something like that.
if you have some guys making a lot of money, you'd think it'd be a little easier there in that area. But instead, we're just going to run the same screen pass to Jonnu Smith, and then we're going to run it to Devon Achane. A positive note I had here, and Josh, I want you to throw out, if I just had some, before we get into like the offseason stuff, I just had some general thoughts about the game. I didn't want to really go, try, but the Jets scored 15 points in the second quarter and was over. It was pathetic and it was exhausting to watch. However, Chop Robinson, man, we were kind of hoping he kind of petered out there near the end of the season, which I think rookie wall, totally understandable. He was the only consistent pass rusher. I think, I don't want to say that Agba, I think, was fine, but somebody down by down, generating pressure. Defenses kind of work around that. You roll the pocket out, whatever it may be. Chop Robinson ended his rookie season with the highest pressure rate for a rookie since, Josh, I will give you one guess, and you hate when I put you on the spot, but I guarantee you get this right. There is no doubt in my mind, the highest rookie pressure rate since
Jalen Phillips?
Micah Parsons. We've been comparing him to Micah Parsons for so long.
I knew I was going to botch that as soon as you said you got
it.
That's amazing.
I'm sorry, man. That's exactly why you don't want me to put you in those spots. But that one, I think I was so excited for, and I'm happy we get to laugh about it, because that was the one thing that, the sack numbers weren't there all year, and people were really getting worried on X. And I was kind of under the impression, he was the only guy, the only consistent pass rusher. It's easier for teams to kind of deal with them. But man, that consistent pressure rate, you were hoping that it could kind of turn into pushing Jalen Phillips and that 8.5 rookie sack franchise record for the Dolphins. But ends his rookie year, Josh, I think 6 sacks. And I'm pretty excited at what this defense can look like when you have someone like Chop Robinson. Jalen Phillips said he'll be ready for the season, and hopefully Bradley Chubb is back as well.
Yeah, and I mean, we've heard Anthony Weaver kind of hint at that, sick that combo or trio could be up front. So I would love to see that. Micah Parsons, I mean, that is honestly, he's probably one of the best pass rushers in all of football, if not the best. So I can't believe that went right over my head, but no, I love that that happened. But we're talking about being able to get pressure, and it is, Chop Robinson did seem like that only guy coming off the edge, but I mean, you got to give a hat tip to Calais Campbell and Zach Steeler. I think he had 1.5 sacks in this game. I think he led the team in sacks this year. And again, you never want those guys up front to be the root of evil, to be the ones that are truly those disruptors. But when you have Jalen Phillips on the shelf, you have Bradley Chubb out, some guys have to step up, and we saw both those guys really step up. Calais Campbell, we saw hugging Anthony Weaver. You could see how emotional that was for him. I've heard people speculate that maybe they let him go and he picks. They can't do that, can they? And then he gets claimed by the Lions or someone. I forget who I saw mention that during the game, but I don't know if we've seen the last of Calais Campbell, but he absolutely stepped up. And Jordan Brooks, I mean, we see every stat that comes out about him. Dude, most tackles for a linebacker since, I believe, Zach Thomas with the Dolphins. Tyrell Dotson, you mentioned his interception. So I'm spiraling out of control here, but there were some good pieces and a lot to like. Something not to like. We're talking about Achane in that run game, man. Jalen Wright. Am I wrong? This says he had -4 yards. I knew he was getting touches, but I didn't realize he only 6 touches and -4 yards. So he was pissed off at Julian Hill because he just absolutely looked like he wasn't even trying to hit anybody. But hope to see more out of Jalen Wright. So I think I touched on everything that I really want to talk about in that game, because dude, everything just kind of imploded after this one was over.
Josh, what was Mike McDaniel's title in San Francisco?
Yeah, run game coordinator, right?
So Jalen Wright, 6 carries for -4 yards. Jeff Wilson, 2 carries for -4 yards. Traded up way into the future for him. full like 365 days into the future for him. And all of a sudden, there's also conversation that Christian Wilkins, because of his injury, the compensatory pick because of him, Miami will not be getting a 3rd round pick. That will actually be a 4th round pick. So just for future us, Josh, when we're talking about like we got to at least get a 3rd because that's definitely what they'll get for a comp pick. JK, nope, you're definitely not getting a 3rd. So just more bad issues for the Dolphins. Did I see that Raheem Mostert played 1 snap?
That I'm not sure. I know he's
He didn't have
returning
a carry.
kicks. I know he's returning. Okay, so he might have. I know he's returning kicks back
Maybe
there, and he
1 offensive
did
snap.
not look happy. Oh man.
I want to get into this a little bit later, Josh, but just real quick to wrap this up on the rushing attack. I mean, 21 carries, 135 yards. It wasn't bad. It was definitely carried by that Achane 61-yard run. But give me 3 names. Who do you want in this backfield next year at running back? Maybe fullback too. 3 names
Okay.
including fullback.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say Ingold would have to be one of them. So I'll go Ingold. I'll go Jalen Wright, Devon Achane, and then can we go? Can I say a rookie? Can I go with a rookie? Can I throw a rookie out there? Who am I snubbing here? Who's gonna be mad at me?
Did you say Jalen Wright?
I did say Jalen Wright. Him and Achane, and then what? Ingold. So I still need one more running back.
So
Yeah,
if you're happy with those 3 and like punting out Mostert and Wilson is what I'm saying, you're like that's where you'd go.
I guess, yeah. You got to add a rookie though, right? I mean, because Ingold's a fullback, but
can you? You just spent 3rd round picks in back-to-back years.
I'm talking like a Chris Brooks. Like, don't they always like get an acorn, that undrafted acorn? Like, we'll look at that. Okay, no draft. I shouldn't say draft. I mean like an undrafted rookie. They'll bring in the next Chris Brooks, let him go, and he'll be playing in the playoffs this week against the Eagles, most likely.
I do want to say that there were times in this Packers game they had their backup in for Jacobs. I can't think of his name. He was number 31. But Brooks, despite Dolphin fans absolutely loving him, and I love him too, he had some big plays, he was still the 3rd string guy, man. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I know people like to think that, you let the wrong guy go. He's looked great in some opportunities, but I don't know if they're still trusting him to be a big-time, like a full-time guy. That's just me being salty. That's me being salty about the Dolphins. And Josh, I want to continue being positively. Oh, let's talk about Tyreek Hill. You want to talk about Tyreek Hill?
We have to. We have no choice. So much to talk about.
We were so excited when we were doing a podcast. We were in the middle of recording a podcast when it happened in a flash, man, where it started as a rumor. And this is all during the recording. It started as a rumor. Tyreek wants out of Kansas City, and the Jets and the Dolphins are the 2 teams that could be interested. And you're like, oh, what was it? 20 minutes later, the idea was Dolphins and Tyreek Hill are nearing an extension, yada, yada, yada. Wasn't it like that quickly?
Oh, it was. It was one of the coolest. I mean, we felt like little kids, like just finding out, I don't know, like Santa Claus is coming to town or something. You're going to go do something that you've been waiting for your whole life. I mean, it changed. We were so stoked when that happened. Yeah, it was awesome.
And we had 2 years where he was the Energizer Bunny, man. Like 1,700 yards back-to-back years. He was catching every pass. The usage was out of this world. And he got awarded. He got named the best player in the NFL. It's crazy how poorly things have gone since. He gets a contract extension. He gets his money guaranteed for 2024 and partially for 2025. And he, man, just was nowhere to be found on the field. 2 catches on 3 targets for 20 yards. I think I saw he played less than half the team snaps. And Josh, after the game, he basically said, I want out, man. I'm too much of a competitor to be acting like this and to not be playing in the playoffs. But I think anyone could say, man, if he plays better, I think the Dolphins season looks a little different as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it just comes after, so many years of sitting here and saying everything that we've heard about Tyreek Hill, that's all bullcrap, right? This is a guy that's been, a locker room leader. We hear all these right things. He's going out there and balling out nearing 2,000 yards. And then this year, as soon as Tua Tagovailoa goes down, man, I speculated maybe took he kind of just, I don't want to say checked out, man, but it just seemed like he almost checked out. And now as with this game, he was so frustrating at the end of this one. He basically said, I'm opening the door and I want out, man. He basically said, I want out. And, I don't know what's going to come from that, right? The Dolphins, I'm sure they may be even considering getting rid of Tyreek Hill this offseason if they could. But, him just coming out right then and there and saying he wants out kind of forces the Dolphins' hands. I don't think anything came out yet today, whether or not I know Mike McDaniel and a lot of the players said he had to calm down and, let's see if take it with a grain of salt. Let's see how he feels, a couple days later. But if Tyreek Hill wants out, man, the Dolphins are going to have to move on from him. And it's just like you said, man, it's so crazy when 2 years ago this dude was the number 1 player in the NFL and an elite presence that defenses just could not stop. And here we are, Snoop Huntley, 2 catches.
I've been so mad all day, and I was so excited to come out here and vent. But at this point, man, I'm just like a little tired of the whole thing. Like this franchise bent over backwards, and this is a team that prides itself on having their meetings 24 minutes past the hour because they've gone 24 years without making the playoffs. This team was trending in the right direction before Tyreek Hill got here. It was trending in the right direction when he got here. He's still here. He's got paid, and it's trending a lot in the wrong direction. I saw Jerome Baker. He tweeted out LOL, whether it was Sunday night or Monday morning, and Dolphin fans and right there with them, you get a defensive about your team. I think people were defensive when people said that, we don't want to see the Dolphins in the playoffs, but can you really blame them when you got Snoop Puntley in this clown show going on? But Jerome Baker, he tweets out LOL, and a lot of fans get upset and they're posting his numbers. What I think the LOL comes from is when you sign someone like Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Ramsey, all of them, you have to change how your roster is constructed. And, we've said in the past, Josh, there was a tight end. I always joke about his name that the Dolphins side in the Flores area, Cethan Carter. Like you signed Cethan Carter for like a 3-year, $15 million deal. And you're like, whatever, but you're looking for ways to win in the margins. When you sign those guys, you can no longer sign the Cethan Carters. On top of that, you got to cut some guys who have been there since the beginning, who have grown, have developed with the team. They went through that brutal 2019 season. They went through this heartaches of 2017, 18, Jerome Baker. So what I kind of think happened there is you see someone like Baker who went through all the heartache. Us as fans, like we have to sit there and deal with every single shit kicking possible. And we can't do anything than say, all right, guys, I hope you do it next time. Like we're going to sit here and support you. We hope you do it next time. For those games to keep happening, and Tyreek, when he's barely involved, like this isn't a situation where like Broncos barely won and Miami was in this game to the end, and then Tyreek was open and he dropped it. He was barely involved in this game. This isn't something where his emotions should have been at such a high. The fact he got paid so much money by this franchise and we got to deal with the Happy New Year, especially to the Chiefs. Dude, this isn't some like mid-level guy. This is like one of your top paid players, one of the top 5 highest paid wide receivers in the NFL, just continuously doing these things where my opinion doesn't matter. I certainly understand that, but I'm just so sad that we have to deal with this. I am so sad that Zach Sealer, Calais Campbell, these dudes worked their entire ass off for the entire season. And you have Tyreek Hill saying, I didn't try in practice. You have Tyreek Hill, not even a calendar month later, saying from I didn't try and practice to I'm such a competitor, I belong in the playoffs, in the same locker room as those guys. It just makes me sad that we have to sit here and do this and talk about this, where we just know that Drew Rosenhaus is going to walk into Chris Greer's office and we're going to get a situation where Drew's going to show up on some TV show or social media, whatever it might be, and he'd be like, Chris Greer was very professional. And we were able to work through things, and Tyreek Hill is really excited to be back with the Dolphins next year. And that is code for we did not stick up for this. We did not stick up for our franchise. We are letting this guy continuously clown us. But as long as he gets 2 receptions for 20 yards on his 3 carries or on his 3 targets, we can find a way to get him paid his $30 million. It's just sad, man. It's sad.
Dude, your Drew Rosenhaus impression was absolutely perfect. And as we're doing this, I mean, at some point throughout the day, it's a snow day here in Pennsylvania. I went out with the kids. I came back in. Tyreek Hill changed his profile picture to the Antonio Brown, pieced out. Like, I quit on my team. So
is that something you want to be proud of? Like, anybody on the entire universe, do you really want to wake up and say, as a receiver, Antonio Brown, incredible. If you want to say as a receiver, I'd love to be like Antonio Brown. But you want to say, I want to be like this guy. Like, whatever, dude. Like, we got to root for this guy, man. That sucks. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, I always do, man. We're venting through this because I think, like you mentioned, man, we sit here and all day long, we have all these emotions and thoughts going through our head, and then we get on here and it's just like, I'm just tired, man. And it's just so hard because it just feels like it's just the same rotation we're constantly stuck in. I want to ask you, Jake, and maybe this is just me being an older head, but hearing Tyreek Hill say that, okay, I get you're frustrated, man. You didn't hit 1,000 yards. You weren't out there. It sounded like he took himself out of the game. Let's just clarify that right away. It sounded like he was, like you mentioned, the Meadowlands are putting the Broncos Chiefs game up there. He realizes the game's over. His wrist already hurts. He's probably frustrated. They have QB1 out all year. Okay, I don't get my 1,000 yards, whatever. He was mad he once traded. But being a fan of this team, I'm sitting here not only did he quit on the team, but he said that he wanted out. I mean, at this point, I don't know that I even want him back, right? I don't know what the cap situation is going to be. I think we can already look at, the Stephon Diggs trade that resulted in the second rounder, Devontae Adams, a conditional third. That's probably what you're looking at here for Tyreek Hill. You're not getting that first, the second, 2 fourths like the Dolphins gave up. But at this point, I don't even know that I want him back if this is your attitude, man. Like, if you are 8-9 and you didn't make the playoffs for the first time with this team, and this is this is what you become. I mean, that's the real Tyreek Hill, I think. And I forget who said it, but if a person shows you who they are, you should know that that's who that person is. And I pushed a lot of stuff aside morally, to root for Tyreek Hill, that I feel like at this point, man, I'm putting the deuces up, right?
You can only be burnt so many times. And I think that, there are things that are overlooked. I got it here. And Over the Cap, Jason Fitzgerald, I think his name is, at Over the Cap, did an excellent job breaking this down. And before I even start, man, I don't want Chris Grier back with this team either, because he's part of what made this pathetic dance all possible. But he deserves a little credit here, Josh, because I was under the impression that when they signed that new contract, it never added more years. It just guaranteed more money. And I took that as like 2024 locked in, 2025 all the way locked in. Not entirely. So if the Dolphins cut Tyreek Hill, $56 million cap hit. That's terrible. We're not even going to talk too much about that. If you wanted to do a post June 1st, I think it costs 40 and then 16 the next year. The Dolphins are still competing. I think Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel, whatever happens, is on the hot seat. You have your $30 million guy saying he wants out. If you're Steven Ross, these dudes are on the hot seat. If you get rid of him, it doesn't matter. Either way, if you trade Tyreek Hill, $28.3 million in dead money, which is close to his current cap. So, Josh, you mentioned a couple examples, and I could kind of see if this is the way it goes, and I really don't want it to be talked down and say, no, I was just emotional. I think you just need to be better for your teammates in that position on that day, for the Calais Campbells of the world, even for the Snoop Huntleys of the world. Let's get Hunter Long in a third-round pick, man. I'm good for it. Fine.
And, I say that, and at the same time, I mean, we're the same fans that just say ridiculous stuff during games, right? Because we're going through the emotions. So I'm saying I want him gone, and I mean, I guess I can sit there and relate to it in a way. But man, I think that's what we're looking at, right? A Hunter Long and a conditional third, and I've seen some of the teams float around. I would love to get him in the NFC. I think that's almost a given. But I know some people have said, I know Panthers would be decent. I know some people have said there was a graphic like Commanders and Raiders or an AFC team, but someone mentioned the Dallas Cowboys. And does that not just seem like a Jerry Jones thing to add him to that offense? So I don't know who's going to come calling, but I do think that if this is truly what Tyreek Hill thinks, and there was even some questions as to whether or not McDaniel even knew he was taking himself out of the game, and that's just a whole nother error. And we're going to have to find out over the next few weeks if they suspend him, right, or anything like that comes down, because we're hearing that the Dolphins could go after some money and this, that, and the other thing. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I think I'm good with that conditional third and Hunter Long. And, man, that just pains me to think of that you gave up all
Best
that.
Player in the NFL, man.
Best player in the NFL. We're celebrating all that stuff. And what did it acquire? They literally started a Super Wild Card weekend, and now it's no longer the Super Wild Card weekend, and we still don't have anything to show for it, man. So
the Dolphins had a better record with Brian Flores having mental warfare on Tua Tagovailoa than having the number one player voted by just players too. This wasn't some Pro Bowl where a bunch of K-pop fans can come in and make one skew the entire voting. This was by players and coach. This is by people in the NFL. And dude, that's why I think I'm at the point, if he's on the team next year, there's nothing we could do about it. But it's just sad. It's just very, very sad about it all. He took his ball, he went home, and I bounced around a little bit there, Josh. But how do you think this ends? Because my Chris Grier, Drew Rosenhaus impersonation, that's how I think this ends. I think, he can be fined from what I've been reading. He can be suspended going into next year, whatever it may be. I don't know. But it's going to be Rosenhaus coming out and saying how the Dolphins could have done all these things, but just because they're such a great organization and they're so stellar, they haven't won a game in 25 years, they sweep that under the table to wipe the slate clean with Tyreek Hill. I really think that's going to happen, and I really don't want it to.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I guess the one thing I keep going back to is during his little rant, I think it was Omar Kelly that posted the video. It was like a 3-minute video. So kudos to him for doing that. But I do think he mentioned something about, you're not able to win games when your QB1's not out there and your franchise quarterback is missing time. And, if that's the way he looks at it, and maybe he sees Tua Tagovailoa's injuries is what's maybe holding them back. And then he's saying, you know what, I just need to go anywhere else but and that was his words, right? Or no, that was Jimmy Butler, right? Jimmy Butler was anywhere else but here. I'm sorry. I did not mean to bring that up intentionally. But yeah, man, I think they'll probably come to terms, but I feel like that might have been the real Tyreek. And if that's the case, given the Dolphins' salary situation, if a team comes calling, I would accept the trade most likely.
I'm really sticking with your words where you say, like, we say things and there's a lot of emotion behind them. And so I'm trying to find where that angle where I just like
that threw the wrench in everything for me too. I don't know why I brought that up, man. It made me realize, like, okay, he's a
there
human.
was just such a level of respect lost this time, man. It was just you were so unfair to so many people, and you take yourself at. I mean, Teron Armstead, I remember he had his injury, as the toe injury in 2022, where the idea he suffered the toe injury against New England Patriots, and doctors told him you can sit out the rest of the year, and he just buckled up and just went back to work, and with Tyreek Hill, it's all year. It's like wrist. Oh, he's out with an illness. Oh, he missed practice today. Then why is he at this team's, not even a team store, this random
his store?
His
it was
store.
his store, I think. Yeah. So
and if you want to make the argument, like, it's practice. Did you never call out a sick at a school, dude? I don't know if I would have if I was making $30 million. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be elsewhere. And that lack of respect is just very disheartening. Last thought here, Josh, unless you have other things you want to add, I'm all for it. I just wanted to ask Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 1. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we can work with it. I definitely think they need to bring some height to that room, right? I think that's kind of what they're missing, that, big body guy can go up there and sky up. But yeah, I think Jalen Waddle can handle it. I just wonder if his body can, right? That's still the biggest concern here. You got so many elite players that, it's their health that just seems to be an issue. So maybe that's something the Dolphins go with this offseason. How do you feel about Malik Washington, though? Because over these last few weeks, man, he's truly stepped up. So that's definitely a blessing for the Dolphins to have as that slot receiver moving forward. But Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 1, I'm here for it.
Put Malik Washington's attitude in Tyreek Hill's body, and then you legitimately have the best player in the NFL. I think that's the best way to look at it. And I don't want to be a broken record, but a couple of weeks ago, Josh, when Waddle was out and you saw how Malik Washington was able to work with the motions and how comfortable he was just being a part of that offense, to me, at least, it kind of felt like at that point, you're like, not like complete, clone copy, but man, he's doing a lot of the stuff that Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill do. Maybe not like an 8 out of 10 compared to a 10 out of 10, but like for a 6th-round pick compared to the money those guys are making, I mean, nailed it, dude. He's a stud.
Yeah, and I mean, that's, again, we retain Chris Greer and I almost said Brian Flores and Mike McDaniel, right? They're coming back. Stephen Ross made a statement about that. But I mean, that's kind of those little things that he probably says, you know what, look at Malik Washington out there balling. Look at what I did with Chop Robinson and things like that. So there's so much bad from so many years, but it's just so cloudy to know who is at, fault for that. So I think we all came into this week thinking, okay, Chris Greer needs to go, but he's back. And at this point, I think Stephen Ross is okay with all 3 of these dudes tied together, even to a Tagovailoa. And if things don't soon change, then maybe he drops the nuke. But to tie this all back to Tyreek Hill, man, I think he's going to be traded.
One of the most interesting curves already in this offseason. And it's kind of like, Josh, when you're sitting at the blackjack table and there's someone who's like right in front of you, maybe they've had a couple drinks, maybe they're talking to their friends and they're just not following the rules of the table, right? You're hitting when you shouldn't, you're taking the card that the dealer should take to help them bust. Like they're just not following just the unwritten rules. Why on earth would the Chicago Bears want to hire Anthony Weaver? You have Caleb Williams, a second-year quarterback. You are a franchise that has been known throughout its entire history to be terrible on offense. No offense, Jay Cutler is the franchise's best all-time quarterback. At least we had Dan Marino, who was incredibly awesome. Or at least that's what I was told. I'm a little younger. But Josh, why would the Bears want to go after Anthony Weaver? If you were not a Bears fan, and don't get me wrong, dude, Weaver has been absolutely awesome. His ability to develop a top 10 defense without a pass rush has been absolutely awesome. But something we have said time and time again, if you hire a defensive mind, you hire an offensive coordinator, he does well, he goes and gets hired elsewhere, you're without an offensive coordinator and you're in the same spot. Man, it just seems like they're hitting when they shouldn't. Why would you take Anthony Weaver from us? You need an offensive guy. Go away.
Yeah, and I mean, you showed me the one. It was like Bears fans and how they reacted to this. And I mean, they're acting just about as sane as any fan base, I guess, that you just found out some defensive coordinator of an team might be coming to town. But I think by the Bears doing their due diligence. So I'm hoping we don't lose Anthony Weaver because, like you said, man, you got Caleb Williams. You need that offense to really hit that next level. I mean, I would be poaching Ben Johnson immediately from the
Oh
Lions if
yeah,
he
he wants to
had
go though.
interest in that. And Harbaugh, didn't Harbaugh play with the Bears last year? Like, did they even have interest in him at that time? So I don't know, man. I don't understand it. I think Weaver will be safe. I know everyone wants to see Robert Saleh be that next guy in waiting, which, I mean, I'd be all here for that. But Anthony Weaver, man, he impressed me this year. He really did. And I do think he will eventually become a head coach. But as we talked on a previous pod, man, now's not the time. Leave him here. Let him build on this. And let's see that psycho defensive front with Phillips, Chubb, and Robinson next year.
So gut feeling is you think he's back next year, even though I mean, don't get me wrong, the Bears have like requested to interview like 6 people, and this is the only interview that Weaver has been requested for. But man, that'd be so Dolphins. Just like, nope, we're just gonna the one bright spot of the not the one, but the big bright spot of this coaching staff. We're just gonna see you later.
That would be so Dolphins. And I mean, now you say that, I kind of. But there are teams that will probably come calling as well. So it might not be his only interview. But after this year, man, it first day, Black Monday, as they call it, it sucks to see his name as one of those that teams are really going to try to come poach, it sounds like.
Austin Jackson met with reporters today, and he said he tore a meniscus, and that's what caused his season to come to an end, but he should be ready to start the regular season. Jalen Phillips also said he's ready to start the regular season, and Josh Sardo just rocket fire them at you. Bradley Chubb also came out and said that he respected and understood Miami's decision to keep him on the shelf for the remainder of the season, and he expects to be ready. Well, I mean, he'll definitely be ready for the start of next season. So thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think looking back at it, thinking about how dismal that offensive or the run game was at times, I think we probably, at least I should have realized how much of an importance Austin Jackson was. We knew how well he started to play, but not having him there, I think kind of made things a little bit more right side than it had to be. And just hearing that Chubb and Phillips will both be healthy to start next year, sign me up for that. Anything else you really want to dive into? Because I do want to talk about Jalen Ramsey before we get off here, because I don't know what the hell cryptic stuff he's posting, but whatever that dirty watch was, man, he posted 4 a.m. I Googled track that thing, and that thing said, know your worth, and then he deleted it. So there's something going on there with that, man.
Yeah, no, this is definitely, I want to talk about this. And right after this, we're going to play a game of, did they play their last snap in a Miami Dolphins jersey? That's how we'll end the show. But man, this was one that was tough because we saw, I want to bring up the quote real quick, because I think the Dolphins are in a spot where they've signed a lot of high price all pro players, and then they paid them a lot of money too. And I've seen people put them all in the same bucket, the Bradley Chubb, the Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill. But I just want to make sure I get this right. Zach Sealer said players need to be on time, and Bradley Chubb said be present in the offseason. And people were starting to look at like, oh man, is that Jalen Ramsey? But dude, Jalen Ramsey, I don't understand the hate he's gotten. He's been an absolute dog. There have been some some tough games. Garrett Wilson has had his number for sure, but I saw him tackling dudes through another dude late into yesterday's game. You saw him rushing back when he suffered that preseason injury. His first year with the Dolphins. What were your initial thoughts by that? Because I think Ramsey is someone who always really likes to share his emotions, share his thoughts, but I don't think he ever does it in a way like Tyreek did, where it was, I'm going home, I'm taking my ball, I don't like you people.
Yeah, I mean, I probably jumped on it and thought it was maybe more than it was at the time. I think I did not see it. I was, refreshing X or whatever, and then it said 4 a.m. And I'm like, why is no one posting this? So then I quick snapped a photo of it. And my thoughts now, just sitting here realizing it, they probably touched down after their, game in Jersey. They probably touched down or something. And, he's just throwing some dirty watch, knows your worth for a Tyreek Hill quote or something like that. He was just being descriptive or something, like that. But at the end of the day, man, if him and Tyreek Hill both would want out, that would be absolutely insane. So I don't think there's too much to put into this. I think that quote that you showed me, I think might have been someone trying to go back on an old story and bring up a Jalen Ramsey quote. So I don't even know if Jalen Ramsey even spoke on this or even threw out that descriptive know your worth type thing. So probably nothing here. Just Detective Houtz going Scooby-Doo and, trying to be that guy that found something that wasn't there.
No, I think it's definitely worth bringing up, especially when you consider how this season has gone. And Josh, like the Dolphins didn't have a Pro Bowler. It could simply be like Jalen Ramsey played at a Pro Bowl level. I think that's a big issue. And I think this is what Tyreek Hill wanted to say. When you start a season 2-6, you're going to just be put with a pile of mush like the entire, you're with the Colts, you're with the Cardinals. And that's what's frustrating for us as Dolphin fans. Like, our record says we're at the same level as them, and we are, but we felt like we should at least be above those teams. Like, okay, fine, we're not the Bills, whatever, but we at least thought we were higher than the mush, and we had players who stood out. But when you have guys like Ramsey coming here to say, we're going to be a playoff team every year, and he lives up to that, you want to get the recognition one way or another. So I'm kind of hoping that's what it is. I could see him still coming out and saying, screw you guys, I'm going home, and want to be traded too, but I'm hoping to take it like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the biggest thing here is the know your worth thing. I don't know that you just got paid to it, right? You were like the highest paid at one point, and same with Tyreek Hill. So I don't know that it's necessarily a money thing with those guys, but like you mentioned, man, coming here, kind of being viewed as those guys that are going to get the Dolphins over the hump, and then having all these other factors kind of, that got in your way that wouldn't allow you to reach those pinnacles and things like that. Maybe you are frustrated. Maybe you do want to go to a legit playoff team. Because let's be honest, man, we as Dolphin fans, we know the truth. This hanging on in the hunt late in the year, this is life for the last 30 years.
It really is, man. And this is a team, like, for everything that could have went right, that could have went right yesterday, Miami didn't deserve a spot in the playoffs. It's that simple. All right, Josh, let's play a quick round of did they play their last snap on the Dolphins? Give me yes, no, and like a sentence why. Tyreek Hill.
Yes, only because I think I've already said I think he gets traded. So I'll double down on that. What about you, man?
Yeah, I'm very disappointed as someone who's been a fan of this team since I had a cardboard cutout of Dan Marino over my crib. I mean, it's just like you were headed in the right direction before he shows up. You don't really move the needle that much more. You make it into the playoffs. You don't win a game. And now to have the tantrums, I'm good letting it go. Javon Holland.
Yeah, he's gone. I feel like he's gone. I feel he's going to follow Flores wherever he might get a new job. I think the Jets, aren't they interviewing him? I guess we can throw that there. I think the Bears might also have been. So, yeah, I think he'll follow Flores. That's just a hunch, but I don't think Dolphins can bring him back. What about you, Jake?
Was it the San Francisco 49ers game where Javon Holland said, like, this is the hardest I've tried all season? We were really, really trying hard that day. That really put up a siren that these guys weren't committed all year, especially the 2-6, not having Tua there. I'm good without Javon Holland. It really step back year. Just another guy that you're just a little disappointed in. Someone who I don't know, man. It just, as you get older, people just tend to rub you the wrong way, just with their different actions, the way they address questions.
Kicking rocks.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I think
he does feel like one of those guys that'll go somewhere though, and be a Minkah Fitzpatrick, no doubt about it. Yeah, but it's time to go.
Calais Campbell.
Man, I'm going to say he comes back. I don't know why my gut just felt like he was going to. I mean, but why would you come back to the Dolphins?
Hear me out.
Okay, let's hear it.
So he came here because he wanted to win a Super Bowl. So love the guy, but his projections here might be a little skewed. So maybe he thinks like, yeah, we'll at least be the playoffs. I already know everyone here. So yeah, we'll be good. Maybe, I don't know.
I would love it. I mean, I don't know. I kind of, my gut was saying he'd come back, but then I say it out loud and it's like, dude, why? Why would you pick this team? 39, but oh God, yeah.
Teron Armstead.
That's the same thing. That's back. I'm gonna go back. I just feel like his body is wearing down. I'll go back. I just feel like he's too much an important piece to this team, and I feel like he wants to keep going out there and battling for Tua Tagovailoa, who I don't know if we're gonna get into that. So I'll say Teron Armstead's back, but I think I'm just throwing out some good vibes here with all the negativity we've thrown out there. What about you, Jake?
I respect that. Nah, I think he's done. I think he's gonna hang up the cleats. I completely agree with you. I think he wants to come back, and I think the talent level's there for him to come back. But as somebody living in Western Massachusetts, I don't know what it means when your body physically won't let you. I don't know what's happening there on the field, but if that's not happening, I guess your desire can't overcome that. And you wish him all the best because, dude, since he's got here, day one, leader from New Orleans, just absolute stud. So I would love to have him back, but it's just one of those things. Like he says all the words, but when you see him sitting there, and it's not like he's going into the blue tent and he's just forced to sit there. As someone who's very dumb, you're just like, man, I can't imagine what he's going through.
Yeah, I think at one point during the season, he said like couldn't even feel his like leg or something like that. So he had to. So yeah, I did say I would have loved to have him come back, but at some point, man, your body's just telling you don't do it, and he really has nothing else to prove, man. Because when he's healthy, dude's one of the best left tackles in all of football.
Raheem Mostert
back, but just because he's not retiring. Although you asked me which running backs I wanted to bring back. So okay, yeah, I think Raheem Mostert's gonna come back. Small price. He has a lot to prove after having record-setting 20 touchdowns one year and whatever the hell it was this season.
And just a warning now, he's like, I'm going to talk us into like, we understand he's older, but he doesn't have all the tread on the tires. Like he is prime example of offseason, no tread on the tires guy. Like that's super coming with Raheem Mostert. We saw what he can do. The slogan of the offseason when he stays healthy, but we shall see. Jordan Poyer.
No, he's gone. Get him out of here, man. That was cute for a second. If that, I don't know.
Sorry, we just talked about this. Anthony Weaver.
Back.
Last one. Snoop Huntley.
I mean, I thought he was back, and I liked what he did, but then he just absolutely imploded this week. And I mean, his one excuse was about the cold weather and the slick ball. And I'm just thinking, dude,
could you believe that?
You played in Baltimore. It's like a couple miles up the road. What the hell do you mean? So, I mean, that kind of, I think that opened my eyes. And you already needed a backup, another tier above a Snoop Huntley. So he'd be a nice QB3. I'd love to continue to see what he can do. I liked what he did when he had to step up, but those comments and just absolutely, I don't want to say he played like ass, but he played bad in this game. So
4 turnovers from the offense. Yeah, dude, only the Dolphins could have a Pro Bowl quarterback on the roster who said, yeah, slick ball, what can you do? Like, it is so lame that this is the hand we are dealt, that we gotta, like, every single year, man, every single year it's something. I think that I want to go with what you said. I think this is 100% emotion, and I'll happily eat these words in a week. I think he's gone. I think those comments didn't help his case at all. I mean, last week was great, but that's for all his starts. You have one good game and you're got excuses for your stinker. I don't know, man. I think we could try something else.
Did you see me doing a little Cali? I want to get my joke out so bad. I was gonna say only the Dolphins could have 2 Pro Bowl quarterbacks on the roster and still not win a playoff game.
Oh
only
my
the Dolphins,
God,
man.
Dude, it's brutal. Like the scenario that the Dolphins fit. Like we have the best player in the NFL. We can't reach the playoffs. You have 2 Pro Bowl quarterbacks. You can't reach the playoffs. You average 5 yards per carry and you lead the AFC East by 3 games with 5 to play. You can't win a playoff game. You can't win the division. That's just super annoying. Damn, man.
This is heartbreaking.
I thought there was one. I thought there was one that I wanted to end on a good note. I don't know, man. I'd like
Tua
8
back next year, right?
Yeah, Tua will be back. I'm interested to see. But Tua, it's another thing with him. Like he had the quote December 27th, man. Right before it was announced that like he won't play the rest of the season, when he was asked, what is it going to be like if you guys aren't playing for a playoff spot? We're really going to see, who's going wants to be here with us. If you see people laying down, you'll know it. If you see people fighting, you'll know it. And he also added, these are the experiences we need as a football team, because if we lose these games and struggle, these are the hardships that build strong football teams. These are what build the chemistry you need to be a successful team in the playoffs. And that's the frustration with the Dolphins, right, man? You uprooted Tyreek Hill, you uprooted Jalen Ramsey, you had all these draft picks to kind of build for the future, and then you try to, replant, these guys to be part of your culture, your system. But once you're uprooted once, I mean, you see Tyreek Hill, already doing it again, and, hope it doesn't happen with Jalen Ramsey, but you just kind of hoped that these guys would want to grow with the team and grow with the franchise, and ain't the case.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to get on Mike McDaniel because we're getting ready to end the show. But, man, it's just kind of funny when the whole adversity is opportunity, and you see late in the year the Dolphins just give up. You see when it there's a little bit of adversity. Tyreek Hill's asking for a trade because he didn't hit 1,000 yards, and there's all sorts of cryptic things going around. So there's definitely a culture.
$30 million a year.
Definitely a culture issue. And, back to the old Tyreek thing, man, they almost had to move him, right? Because the cap hit next year was, what, $52 million we mentioned? Like, dude, some decisions to be made, and it's only up from here, I think.
So that is only if he's cut. His cap hit right now is $28 million when he's on the roster. And then if you trade him, it's also $28 million. So I think we could probably do a podcast of how you find, you're not going to replace Tyreek Hill, but can you get enough of that couple picks, whatever it may be, to help overcome $28 million dead cap? I mean, you saw 2019, the amount of dead cap Miami was finagling with. So they're definitely accustomed to it. Well, thank you all for listening. I know this kind of sucked. We appreciate it. But it kind of sucks to be a Dolphins fan. Oh, it felt great for us. We hope you guys got a couple of laughs, had a nice time speaking with us. Happy New Year, everyone. If you're liking what you're listening to, we are going to continue this podcast all throughout the offseason like we always do. So we'll have some draft analysis, free agent analysis, and more just drama-filled rants in the future. I mean, we cover a team that has Tyreek Hill, so that's only par for the course. If you like what you're listening to, but want to get a little video aspect involved, 560 WQAM YouTube channel, you can find all our shows there. I don't reply to the comments there, but I do read them all, and I try to bring them into the show. So thank you all who engage with us there. That is it. That is all the time we have. We will be back with some more news notes later this week. But until then, fins up.
Fins up.
Fins up.